Okay, so to continue from where we left off in our previous tutorial, I'm just going to finish up creating the rest of the pieces. We have created all our pieces over here. So what we're left with is to interact with our game. And so we want to move this piece from left to right or downwards. So in Pygame, that interactivity with our game is going to be via the keyboard input. We're going to use our keyboard to interact with our game. Keyboard input in Pygame is some kind of an event. Let me take you to this documentation. So the event module. So if you go down here, you will see we have a key down and a key up event. So this is dealing with our keyboard, right? So we need to interact with these events, key down or key up. We already looked at the quit event, which happens to be in here. This is the quit event, right? So how do we interact with the key down or key up event? I'm going to turn this shape rect. I want to draw that into some kind of a square. So I'm going to comment out these lines. So Control/, Command/ on Mac. Let me save and run. And now we have nothing on our screen. So what I want to do is I want to use this shape rect 70 by 70 here. So this is just a position on our window where I want to draw a single square. This is what I want to do. So down here, I want to say Pygame.draw. Right, and then we want to go for the game screen, and we also want to give that 255,255,255, and then we want to say shape_rect down here. So if I save and run, you will see a square right here. So we know that this single square on our grid is 35 pixels. So that's why I deliberately put 70 and 70 here. So I know 2 squares from the top and 2 squares from the left. And so this is the position where we are. So we're going to use this to demonstrate the keyboard input, how we're going to interact with our game via the keyboard. We have a key down and a key up event. So if it's an event, then we can look up in this event variable over here. For all the events that we have, we can access them using this variable event. So down here, we can say if event.type, similar with this line here, if event.type is equal to, we use a double equal sign to mean equal. Pygame.keydown. How are we going to know which key has been pressed specifically? So I'm going to take you back again to the documentation. In the key module, you can see here we have Pygame constant. We have the description here. In Pygame, each key that is on your keyboard has some kind of a constant that represents it. For instance, the backspace is represented by K_backspace in all uppercase. Similar with the clear, the return, the pause, escape, etc. If it's a number, you have this one K_number. If it's the alphabet letter, it's going to be K_lowercase a, lowercase b up to Z down here. And all the other keys that you can think of that are on your keyboard are represented with some kind of a constant in Pygame. And so this is the constant that we're going to use to check whether that key has been pressed or not. So now we're going to nest this inside this if statement. So in here, by the way, Python uses indentation. That's why it's indented over here. So we can say if event .key. This event variable has got attributes. Type is one of them, and key is also one of them. This is used to check the type of key, the key that has been pressed. Okay, so we can say is equal to Pygame. So all these constants, you use Pygame dot something something as your notation. So we want to say K underscore, we want the left key. So this is for the left key. Let's go back, we can check that. Okay, here K underscore left is for the left arrow, and then the right arrow. These are the keys that we want to use. So here, if you create a rect object like this, you have access to attributes or to properties of this rect object, which include the X value, the Y value, the width, the height, the top left, the top right, the middle. You have a bunch of properties that you have access to. And so we're going to say shape underscore rect dot X. We want this X coordinate minus equal. So if we're going to the left, we are reducing the value of X. We want that to reduce that by 35, which happens to be the size of the square. That's why we are using this value. If I save and run this, press the left arrow button, boom, you can see, boom, each time we press, it's moving 35 pixels to the left. We are decreasing this value from 70, it's going down by 35. That's why when I press, it's going back. Let me close this. We can also, if event.key is equal to Pygame.k underscore right, and we can also increase that shape underscore rect.x plus equals to 35. Okay, so this syntax, I hope you guys are familiar with this syntax. This is shorthand. This is similar to, we assign this shape rect.x plus 35. Okay, this is similar to this. Instead of writing all this, you can do away with this variable and you can plus equal here. Okay, so if I save and run this, and now I can use these two arrows to move. With the key down event, I want you to notice one thing. If I press, it fires only once. Even if I continuously press the key, it's only going to fire once. And so I have to let it go and press again if I want to keep it moving. You might want this behavior or you might not want this behavior. Sometimes you want to press a key and you want that object to continuously move. And so this brings us to the next method that we can use. We can also use a method in the key module. So in here, we can check for whether a key is pressed or not and do something about it. This is here. It gets the state of all the keyboard buttons. Returns a sequence of Boolean values representing the state of every key on the keyboard. Now we have to use the key constant values to index the array. So we'll get back an array with Boolean values. So I'm going to comment this out. Let me comment all this out up to here, control /. Now we are back to just this. Even if I press the arrow keys, it's not going to work. So we want to use that get pressed method. So in our game loop, we are not inside this for loop. We are just in our game loop, the main loop. So you have to check your indentation. This method that we're going to use is not an event. So it's not going to be recorded in this pygame.event.get. So it's something totally different. Let me check. Our documentation is our best friend. We can use that pygame.key.getPressed. So that's what we're going to use. So I'm going to say pygame.key.get_pressed. It's right here. There are a bunch of other methods in the key module. The one that we're interested in is the get pressed method here. So this is going to give us an array or a list of values, false or true, depending whether the key is pressed or not. So we want to assign this to a variable called pressed. Okay, so if I am to print this pressed, always remember to print your stuff. If I save this and run this, you see down here, there's a whole bunch of false. These are the keys. It's just telling us that no key was pressed. And so it's recording false. Use the key constant values. The key constant that they're referring to are these ones. As the keys or as the index to access a specific key. So we're going to use these values to index this array. So it's an array, they said in the documentation, the array. So pressed here, use square brackets for indexing. We are indexing this. So let's say we want to access maybe the left key, we could then say pygame.k_left. If it's not pressed, it's going to be false. If it's pressed, it's going to give us a true. So now we can use an if statement here. We can say if pressed. So once we press this key, this is going to return true. And so if it returns true, we can do whatever we want here. So this command that we're going to enter here is going to be executed. So what command do we want to enter here? We want to tell it to decrease the x value of our shape rect. So .x minus equal 2. Okay, because this is going to fire continuously. It's not going to fire once like this one. This one will fire just once. The reason simply because this is returning a true or a false. So if this is pressed, it's going to return a true. So if you continuously press it, it's going to be true until you release the button. And so this is going to happen continuously for as long as you press this button. Let's see this in action. So let me save this. Let me run this. And if I press this, you can see it's moving continuously. I had to release it and then disappears there. So we can do the same. Let me just copy this, Control C and then Control V and paste that. This one we're going to say right, and this one we're going to say plus 2. So if I'm to save and run again, we can move that side, we can move this side, we can move that side. You can see the behavior now. It's continuously moving. For as long as I press that key, it's going to continuously move. For as long as you keep on pressing the key, it's going to do that. So this is how you use these two different methods. So sometimes you might be interested in this kind of behavior, and sometimes you might be interested in a behavior where, you know, when you press a key, it's going to fire once. So depending on what you're trying to do, you can use any one of these methods. But we're going to be using this method for our game. I hope you guys are getting it. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. I also encourage you guys to be taking part. Get your hands dirty. Try all these methods that we're talking about and see how it goes. And so I want to thank you for your time. I hope to see you in our next tutorial. For now, I'm out. Bye-bye.